Hi, it's Tim Mulvaney, and welcome to today's Courageous Conversation. In today's conversation, we are going to be talking about risk, and we are going to be talking about how do you take some emotional risk in the conversations with your friends, your colleagues, or bosses to help move yourself and your business forward. And so we're going to be talking with our good friend and colleague, Doug Sundheim of Clarity Consulting. Doug is in the process of writing a book called The Gift of Risk, How to Live and Die Smiling. And so we're going to talk with him about a number of things. We're going to talk about the 3 zones of risk and what that looks like. We're going to talk about how it's more of an emotional struggle than a logical struggle. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to give you a couple of ideas by the end about where you can start taking some risk for yourself. But before we talk to Doug, let me tell you a little bit about who he is. Doug, in his 20s, began a 100-person catering firm. And after that, followed several years in the marketing consulting field, where he included clients like Sony and M&M Mars, Mattel, and Motorola, just to name a few. Clarity Consulting was started by Doug in the year 2000, and helping leaders and teams break through their barriers that stifle performance, which, as you'll hear in a few minutes here, where the idea of risk, and as Doug talked about risk, what that means. So we'll talk about that. In 2005, he co-authored the 25 Best Time Management Tools and Techniques, a book that is still on the bestseller list today and is translated into 5 languages since that time. And currently, clients like Time Warner, the Chubb Corporation, University of Chicago, Harvard Management, Prudential, Douglas Elliman, Altria, so all sorts of organizations, large and small, in all sorts of industries. And with that, let's welcome Doug Sundheim.
Thank you.
Doug Sundheim, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Terrific. So thanks very much for coming. So tell me, let's start with, what does risk mean? So let's sort of define our terms, if we will. So tell me a little bit about risk.
So risk, when I think about risk, one of the things I think about is that there's 3 different zones we can live in the world. The first is the comfort zone.
Right.
We're all pretty familiar.
We love the comfort zone.
We all love the comfort zone because it's comfortable. Although one of the points I bring up in the book is that the paradox of the comfort zone is, after a while, it's not always that comfortable.
Okay.
The comfort zone, right? But we have the comfort zone. There's a zone on the other side which, by all intents and purposes, we try to avoid, which is the danger zone. That's the one where we're kind of sweating bullets, having panic attacks, and we really can't perform very well in that zone.
So that's like too much.
That's like too much.
Too much, okay.
So you've got the comfort zone, and there's this center zone, which I call the stretch zone.
Okay.
And very often we can perceive that the comfort zone goes right into the danger zone, right? If I leave my comfort zone, I'm in the danger zone.
Right.
But this book and what my work is really showing is that the third zone, there is a third zone in between the two, which is the stretch zone, outside the comfort zone.
Right.
It doesn't feel great, but I'm not in the danger zone. This is where we learn, we grow, we connect with others really well, we make ourselves a little bit vulnerable. If you talk about interpersonal relationship, we stretch ourselves and go after a bigger deal. If we talk about running our own company, we're not in the comfort zone, but we're also realizing, hey, you know what? I'm not going to die here, and that's where I learn and grow. And so the book is really about being in the stretch zone. How do I get there? How do I stay there? And how do I excel? There.
Okay, terrific. So it sounds to me like the red zone, the danger zone. So the comfort zone is maybe I'm not doing enough, and the red zone is I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
So we're somewhere, and so the risk we're talking about is somewhere in between those two things.
Doing too much for you, and it's
It's
self-determined what the red zone is.
Okay, perfect. It's beautiful. So you talked about that. Awareness is half the battle. So, tell me, how do I end up being aware that I'm maybe in the comfort zone is becoming a discomfort zone for me, and how do I know that there's something else that I'd like to take a stretch at? Yeah,
you usually tell because you feel stagnant. You feel like there's something you'd really like.
Okay.
You may have an idea of what that is a little bit, or you may not. It may just feel like I should be doing more.
Right. And so tell me about creating that pull then. So tell me about the process to create that driver for me that helps move me out of the comfort into the stretch. And so there's a lot of ways to do it. I talk about pull. We usually get pull in one of 3 ways.
one is destiny. It's like a Mozart or a Picasso. All of a sudden at 3 we're playing the piano, and that's what we're pulled to do. Well, 99.99% of people don't do that.
That ship has sailed, I'm
Right,
afraid.
ship has sailed, right? Another way people find a pull in life is it's kind of delivered to us. One of the stories that I talk about in the book is Nancy Brinker, whose sister was Susan G. Komen, and in 1982, Susan G. Komen died of breast cancer. Right. Nancy and Susan were horrified at the lack of awareness that there was for breast cancer. And so one of her dying wishes to her sister Nancy, one of Susan's dying wishes, was please make sure that awareness grows for breast cancer.
Okay.
Right? So that's kind of a delivered pull to us. Somehow our life delivers this thing which gives us meaning and contextualizes the risks that we take.
And just to finish that story, and what happened, in terms of the poll, so for folks who don't know.
So Nancy Brinker has founded one of the most successful nonprofits in the last 28 years. She's founded one of the most successful nonprofits in the history of cancer research, has raised billions of dollars, was named an ambassador to Turkey because of her leadership, and was named in 2008 as one of Time's 100 most powerful people in the world.
Wow.
Before that, she was an average business person, right? So a poll can create all sorts of contexts that have us take risks that we didn't think we were capable of, wanted to take, things of that nature.
Okay, great.
But a lot of us don't get that delivered either. So it's not destined, it's not delivered, and it's what I call a discovered pull. It's this thing that we have to find. And so the question is, how do you discover it?
Right.
One question that I ask a lot of my clients is, tell me about a time in your life when you felt most alive. Reconnecting to those times can reconnect us to things like arts that we liked, businesses that we liked, certain relationships. And in doing that, we get to, it's a process. And in the book, it kind of goes through 5 or 6 other ways that you can explore that pull so that you can figure out what it is that will pull you to create that stretch zone for you.
Well, it sounds like then, sort of as you help folks create the pull, that initially the danger zone, people go to the danger zone almost immediately. It sounds like
Everything
in the thinking.
Everything looks like the danger zone.
Right. So where it sounds like part where you do it differently is that rather worrying about how to take less risk or make the risk manageable, it's about developing spend more time on what am I trying to accomplish here.
Gives you perspective for the risk.
Okay.
Because the actions are always going to be the same. There's always going to be a moment where, in this woman's case, she's going to have what's potentially an awkward conversation with someone, right? So the best thing she can do is get clear as to why having that conversation is going to really provide power for her and her organization.
Beautiful. Well, this is excellent. So if there was 1, 2, 3 things that you'd want people to walk away from this conversation with about as they think about creating their own pull, or they're in one of the zones, thoughts you would have, 1 or 2 things to help people walking away from this.
Go slow.
Okay.
Which I think is very important. In taking risks, momentum is more important than speed, right?
Okay.
Because if you try to go too fast and you start failing too big, too fast, you start to give yourself a whole bunch of reasons why you don't want to risk anymore. Right. So go slow. Build up small wins. That's really important.
Okay.
And be willing to fall down. That's another big point on the journey that I think is really important. There's an old expression, I think Mary Pickford from United Artists said it, which was, failure is not the falling down, it's the staying down.
Okay.
Right? So, if you fall down, you're learning.
Right.
And that's really important. So if you're going slow, small risks, falling down, learning, you're building up a level of momentum. Okay. The biggest risk takers in the world, we often think that they, woke up one morning and said, let me put 20 million down on this.
Right.
It's rarely how it happens.
Well, terrific. Well, thank you. This has been terrific. I have to say, we don't very often get an analogy here using Mary Pickford from Nearly Silent Movie Days.
Yes.
So thank you for that, because that has never happened before, so I appreciate that. But terrific. But listen, folks, this is Doug Sundheim, and he is in the process of writing his book, The Gift of Risk, How to Live and Die Smiling. So as you heard, a couple things here. Take it slow, don't take the risk and so big that it breeds the failure for you. Take a little bit, sort of build it up over time. As well as think about the poll. One of the things that struck me was, take your time to think about, well, why would I want to do this? What's not working? Why, if I fix this, this would be better for us as a group, as a team, as a person. Because as we also heard, that is where our aliveness comes from, is taking that risk. Even, and I think you're saying even if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like I've taken a small enough risk, and even just the fact I took the risk helps make me feel alive and makes it easier to take the next risk. But, my friends, this is Doug Sundheim. Thank you very much for being here. And this is Tim Mulvaney, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.